Amber stood in front of the bulletin board, his eyes gleaming feverishly. He had just read a message that might change his entire life. Do you want to get rid of your memories? Then come to this address, we can help. How about that, Amber had wanted to be free from his intrusive memories for a long time, and now here it was. Half an hour later, Amber arrived at the address listed in the ad. It was a private house, painted dull gray, utterly unremarkable, hidden behind a fence of the same color. Amber opened the gate and stepped inside. No one stopped him. He approached the door, and not seeing a doorbell, knocked. Almost immediately, the door opened, revealing a short, stocky man in his middle years. The man was bald, with a pale face, deep-set round black eyes beneath thick, black eyebrows, a full mouth, and a small nose. He was dressed in a dark gray suit and a white shirt. "I'm here about the ad," Amber said. The man looked around to make sure Amber was alone, then gestured for him to follow. Inside, the house was dim. The walls, floors, and ceiling were all painted dark blue. A black coat hung on a rack in the hallway. They turned left and passed several closed doors, before climbing a staircase to the second floor. The house was large. Upstairs, they continued down another hallway, also painted in the same dark blue. A single, dim chandelier hung from the ceiling, casting a faint light. Finally, the man opened one of the doors, and they stepped into a room. It was an office. Everything here was a deep burgundy red. The room was spacious, yet almost empty. In the center stood a desk with 2 chairs on either side. That was all. "Please have a seat," the man said, his voice quiet and slightly hoarse. Amber sat. The man took the seat opposite him. "So you want to get rid of your memories?" the man asked. "Yes, I do," Amber replied. "I've collected a lot of bad ones. You're making it hard to live. Well, you did the right thing coming to me. But my services are not cheap. Doesn't matter. I just want the memories gone." The man smiled. "Don't worry. I'll take care of everything. My motto is, no memories, no problems. I will relieve you of every memory that keeps you from living in peace and joy. By tomorrow, they'll all be gone from your head," he said. "That's amazing," Amber said. "Let's start right now. What do I need to do?" "First, we sign the agreement," the man said. He handed over a sheet of paper. "I, in sound mind and clear memory, confirm that I will make no claims against Mr. Frank's work and will not request the return of my memories." Amber read aloud. "Right, Mr. Frank. That's me," the man clarified. "Nice to meet you. I'm Amber. So, do you agree to the terms?" Of course, Amber thought. "Yes, I agree," he said aloud, and signed the document. Mr. Frank took the paper and slipped it into a drawer. "Now we begin," he said. "Sit comfortably, close your eyes, and relax." Amber did as instructed. Then he heard, "Now, one by one, recall the memories you wish to forget. Take your time. Replay each one in detail. Decide whether you're truly ready to let it go, and only once you've made that decision, move on to the next." Amber began the process. He dug deep into the darkest corners of his mind. Searching for the worst, the saddest memories, he approached the task with care. He didn't want to miss a single memory that made him miserable. Turned out, there were quite a few of them. The process took a long time. Finally, it was done. Every bad memory had been relived. Amber could think of no more. He waited, expecting to feel instantly lighter, but nothing changed. "You may open your eyes," he heard Amber. Opened. The man saw an empty glass jar on the table. Mr. Frank closed it with a lid. "Your memories are now stored here," he said. Amber looked at the doctor and waited. Wondering what would come next, he expected Mr. Frank to ask for payment, and maybe hand him the jar and say something like, "Take this outside and open it. All your memories will fly away." Just like those psychology rituals burning diary pages or letters you want to forget, Amber mused. But it didn't go that way. "Now think about the things that used to weigh you down," Dr. Frank said. "Plenty of things weighed me down." Amber thought and began searching his mind. But to his surprise, he couldn't recall a single painful or sad moment. Only happy memories surfaced. "I can't remember," Amber said, bewildered. "It's like my entire life has only been joy." "Exactly. All your bad memories are in this jar. You recalled them and passed them to me. Your memory is now clean, Dr. Frank said, and you can be sure nothing will trouble you anymore. Now let's settle up. You gave me 12 negative memories. According to my rate, that's $2 per memory. That'll be $24? It worked, Amber thought in astonishment. But he still wasn't fully convinced. He tried again to think of something bad. Nothing came. No anxiety. No sorrow. Nothing made him want to cry or despair. So I really did forget everything bad, he thought, and smiled brightly. Amazing how simple. It turned out to be, "Thank you, doctor. I feel like I've been reborn." Amber smiled again. He pulled out his wallet and counted out $24. He handed the money to Dr. Frank. "You're welcome," the doctor said, rising to his feet. "Let me walk you out." Amber stood too. And together they left the office, descending to the first floor. They reached the front door. Dr. Frank unlocked it and opened it wide. "Goodbye, doctor," Amber said, and stepped outside. "Goodbye," Dr. Frank replied, closing the door behind him. All the way home, Amber felt as if he were floating. He had never felt so light and joyful. Not only had he erased all his painful memories, it had barely cost him anything at all. Why did he say his services were expensive? That wasn't expensive at all. Just $24, Amber thought, a contented smile spreading across his face. Amber's happiness lasted exactly 1 week, freed from his painful memories. Amber had changed. He was a young man 26 years old. He worked a dull, uneventful job as an office clerk. There was nothing remarkable about his appearance either, of average height and build, not skinny, not bulky. No prominent muscles to speak of. His skin was a warm coffee tone. Eyes brown. Hair short, coarse, and sandy blonde. Amber lived. Alone? He wasn't lucky in love. The problem lay in his personality. He was a good man, kind and sincere, but also quiet and shy. Starting conversations, especially with women, had always been difficult for him. He'd broken up with his last girlfriend about a year ago, and since then, he hadn't found anyone new. There had been a few dates, but they never went anywhere either. The girl wasn't his type, or he simply failed to make an impression. But after visiting Dr. Frank, everything changed. The very next day, Amber behaved completely differently at work. Normally, he was quiet. He didn't take smoke breaks, spent all his time focused on tasks. But today he was actively chatting with his coworkers, laughing, joking. It was like someone had flipped a switch suddenly. He was articulate, confident, and charming. His shyness and introversion had vanished. Naturally, his colleagues noticed. What happened to our Amber? They wondered. Did he fall in love or something? In a single day, Amber had become a new man. His life began to shift for the better. He had finally begun to enjoy life. No more tension, no endless overthinking, or gnawing anxiety like before. Most importantly, he had stopped doubting himself. He'd gained confidence. He'd found freedom. Several days passed like this. And then finally on Friday, Amber decided to take one more shot at fixing his personal life. He made up his mind that, to Dane, no matter what he would ask out the girl he liked. She worked in the department next to his. He'd been secretly in love with her for a while, but had never had the courage to approach her. She's probably not even single, he used to think. But the new Amber swept aside all doubts. After work, he walked over to Lucy, that was her name, and said, "Hey, heading home?" "Yeah," Lucy replied. "Let me walk you, sure." They walked down the street, chatting easily. The next day, Amber invited her to a cafe. But as we said, the happiness lasted only a week. Specifically, until the moment. Amber had a thought. What does Dr. Frank actually do with those memories? He said they went into a jar, but he never told me what happened to them after that. The thought struck him on Sunday evening, the day before. He'd gone on a date with Lucy. It had gone wonderfully. All day today he'd been basking in how well life was going and mentally thanking Dr. Frank. But as evening fell, the question of the memories came creeping back. Strange that. I never asked what happens to them once they're in the jar. Dr. Frank didn't say a word about that. Do they just sit there, stored away? But for how long? And if they are stored, he must have dozens of jars by now. Surely I'm not the only one who's come to him. But if they're not stored, then where do they go? The question unsettled him so deeply that the next day, after work, Amber returned to Dr. Frank's house. He knocked on the door, and it soon opened. Dr. Frank was standing there. "You again," he said with a smile. "Ready for another memory wipe?" "No, I have a question," Amber said hesitantly. The moment he arrived, all his newfound confidence had vanished. The old Amber crept back in. "What did you want to ask?" Dr. Frank smiled politely. "Well, that jar you put my memories in, what did you do with it afterward?" Amber asked. Dr. Frank's face darkened. "That's classified." "I don't disclose that kind of information," he said curtly. "But I want to know. Don't bother asking. I won't tell you." "No, I demand to know." Amber suddenly burst out. He was genuinely agitated now. Dr. Frank's refusal deeply unsettled him. Why would he hide what happened to those memories? "Listen," said Dr. Frank calmly. "Signed a contract stating you wouldn't question my work. That includes not asking what I do with the memories." Amber sighed. "But why can't you just tell me where they are?" "Not asking for them, but I just want to know what happened to them." "This conversation is over," said Dr. Frank firmly. "Please leave." Amber had no choice but to go. He still hadn't learned how to argue or stand his ground. He should have pushed harder, demanded answers, but he didn't. He gave up to hell with those memories, Amber told himself. If he doesn't want to say, then fine. It's not that big of a deal. I've got a new life now. He turned away from the house. Behind him, the door shut with a sharp click. Amber glanced back at it, sighed, and walked off. He made a firm decision. He would stop thinking about Dr. Frank and those lost memories. He had a new life, and it suited him just fine. But the worry didn't leave. Each night before falling asleep, Amber thought back to what had happened, and it ate away at him, not knowing where. His memories had gone, and it only got worse. With each passing day, the unease grew. At first, he simply wanted to know what had happened, but after a week, he began to regret ever giving them up. He realized something was missing, and soon he understood. It was the memories, the ones he'd sold. He wanted them back desperately. It was like a piece of his soul had been removed along with them, which of course was true. He had sold his memories, which meant had sold part of his life, and now he was suffering. Sold my memories, he thought. But which ones? What did I get rid of? What had tormented me so much? He didn't know, and now, nothing could be done. He'd have to accept it, but Amber couldn't accept it. Grief settled deep in his heart. Day by day, his sorrow only grew. He couldn't stop thinking about those memories. He wanted them back, badly, but no one knew what he was going through out in the world. He still played the role of the new Amber, charming, sociable, fun. Only in solitude did the old Amber return, sad, and broken. And then there was Lucy. After their date, he ran into her again on Monday morning at work. She was sweet and cheerful, Amber. Thought of asking her out again the following weekend, but by the time Saturday rolled around, he was too consumed by his own inner torment, so he decided to postpone. Finally, after 3 long weeks, Amber couldn't take it anymore. He returned to Dr. Frank's house. As soon as the door opened, he pushed his way inside and demanded, "Give me back my memories." It was as if Dr. Frank had expected this. He calmly waved the signed contract in Amber's face. Amber sighed. "Please just explain why you can't give them back, young man," Dr. Frank said. "As I told you before, you signed the contract. You agreed not to request the return of your memories and not to ask questions about my work." "Screw the contract," Amber shouted. "I didn't know it would feel like this without them. I want them back." "Goodbye," said Dr. Frank. "You're joking, right? Give them back now," Amber roared. He grabbed Dr. Frank by the collar and shook him. "Let go," Dr. Frank said quietly. Amber released his grip. "Now get out," the doctor said firmly. "I'm not leaving." Amber shouted again. "I want my memories back, or at least an explanation. This conversation is over." Dr. Frank pointed toward the door. "Leave." He went silent, staring coldly at Amber. What a smug bastard. "Amber," I thought, and in the next second Dr. Frank shoved him hard. Pushing him out the door, it slammed shut behind him. "I'm not letting this go." Amber shouted, then turned and stormed off. Something had to be done. But what? Amber didn't know, yet he couldn't talk to anyone if he so much as mentioned selling his memories. They'd probably throw him in a psych ward. Meanwhile, after his encounter with Dr. Frank, the obsession only worsened. He needed those memories back. But how? Returning to Dr. Frank was useless now. He probably won't even let me near the house again, Amber thought. For the next few days, he racked his brain. What else could he do? 8 days passed. All that time, Amber obsessed over one thing: how to get his memories back, or at least uncover the truth about Dr. Frank. He wanted to know how the man could remove memories from someone's mind, and what happened to them afterward, and why couldn't they be returned? Why did Dr. Frank refuse to answer? These questions tormented him just as much as the loss itself. Then, on the evening of the 8th day, Amber suddenly came up with a plan. It was cruel, unethical, but he saw no other way. Though, to be fair, he decided to try a more peaceful approach first. 2 days later, on a Friday night, Amber returned to Dr. Frank's house. He knocked. Soon the doctor opened the door. "Young man." Dr. Frank's brow furrowed. "I came to apologize for how I behaved," said Amber. "Here," he held out a bottle of cognac and a box of chocolates. "Let's have a drink and put it all behind us." "Fine, come in." They walked into Dr. Frank's study and sat down at the table. The doctor poured them each a drink and opened the chocolates. They had a toast. Dr. Frank ate a chocolate. Amber didn't touch his. He picked up the bottle and poured again. They drank. Poured another and another. By the 5th round, Dr. Frank leaned back in his chair and began to snore. Amber jumped up from his seat and began. Pulling open the drawers of Dr. Frank's desk, he had laced the chocolates with sleeping pills. Now, while Dr. Frank was asleep, he planned to look through his desk drawers, Amber hoped. This would help him figure out how to get his memories back, and maybe uncover the truth behind Dr. Frank's mysterious work. He was banking on the hope that some kind of written records would be there. After checking the desk, he planned to look for the jar containing his memories, so though he wasn't sure it would still be in the house. And if he found nothing, well, he had another plan, a darker, far less humane one. But that was for later. For now, Amber focused on the drawers. There were 3 of them in the first. He found a stack of contracts. There were many. Wow, so many people giving up their memories, Amber thought. As he flipped through them, he spotted the one with his own signature. In the second drawer, Amber found a thick notebook. Inside were dates and names every day. Dr. Frank had recorded visits names, number of clients, totals, and in the third drawer, Amber found a key. Maybe it opens the room with the memory jars? He wondered, taking the key, left the office. He tried the key on every door down the long hallway. It took a while, finally. At the very end, the key clicked into the last door on the left. The door swung open. Inside was a room with a large shelving unit. Lined across the shelves were dozens of jars with plastic lids. Each jar had a name written on it. Amber's heart leaped. He was on the right track. Soon he found the jar with his name. He pulled it from the shelf and held it tightly. What'll happen if I open it? Will the memories just flow back into my mind? He wondered. But he didn't open it, not yet. Was afraid? Could I make it worse? What if opening the jar destroys the memories for good? Then something caught his eye in the far corner of the shelving unit. On the 4th shelf, he spotted a notebook. He gently put his jar back and reached for the notebook. He opened it and began to read. Day 1, today. Removed a memory from my first test subject. It worked. The subject said he no longer remembered what had troubled him. I must continue my experiments. Day 2. Invited a second subject into my office and removed a memory from him as well. He also claimed the troubling memory was gone. There were about 10 more entries like this. Day 14. I posted an advertisement offering to remove unwanted memories. That same day, I had my first real client. He said he wanted to be free from a painful memory. I took it from him. He paid me $6. I removed 3 of his memories. Day 15. 2 more clients came in today. Each had 2 bad memories removed. Each paid me $4. Day 18 today, a former client returned and demanded I give back his memories. Asterisk, asterisk, now we're getting somewhere, thought Amber, and kept reading asterisk, asterisk. I explained to him that it was impossible. As per the terms of the contract, he had agreed not to make any claims regarding my work and, most importantly, not to demand the return of memories. He left empty-handed. Asterisk, asterisk, day 20. The same client came back again today. He began shouting and causing a scene. Calmly and firmly asked him to leave. He left. Asterisk, asterisk, day 20-5. He came back again, barged into my house, and once again demanded his memories. I told him I would fetch his jar, but he'd need to wait by the door. He agreed. I went upstairs. Then I called the asylum and asked them to come to my address while they were en route. I hid his jar and returned downstairs. I told the client I'd misplaced the jar and suggested we look for it together. He followed me to the storage room, and we began searching. Then came a knock at the door. I told the client to keep looking and went to answer it. It was the orderlies. I explained the situation. Someone's been spreading false ads in my name claiming I remove memories. This man believed the ad and came here demanding I erase his memories, I told him. I couldn't help and that I never posted such an ad. But he wouldn't listen, he insisted. So I had no choice but to call you. Please take appropriate action. The orderlies said they had reason to detain the man and asked where he was. I led them to the storage room. They entered, took the man by the arms, and escorted him from my home to my great relief. Asterisk, asterisk, day 20-8. Another client wanted his memories back. I showed him the contract. He left. But this one was persistent too. He came back again and made the same demand. I reminded him the agreement. He insisted. He even threatened to go to the police. I told him that if he didn't leave immediately, I'd call the asylum. No one will believe you gave me your memories, let alone paid me to take them. You have no proof any of this happened, so leave now or I'll make the call. I said. He left. Asterisk, asterisk, day 30. A new client arrived. Day 37. Even this one turned out to be troublesome. He kept asking what I did with his memories. He was far too curious. I told him nothing. He left. That's when I decided to install surveillance cameras. I needed to know who was coming to my door. Asterisk, asterisk, day 50-8. The persistent one came again. Thanks to the cameras, I recognized him right away. At first I didn't want to open the door, but I figured I'd talk to him one last time, try to make him leave me alone. The moment I opened it, he demanded his memories back. That's all he wanted now. It's just the memories. I reminded him of the contract. He wasn't satisfied. He demanded an explanation. Why can't you give them back? He asked. I explained that by signing, he agreed. Not to request their return, not to ask about my work. He didn't like that. He started yelling. 3 weeks between those visits. This has to be about me, Amber thought, and kept reading. Then he grabbed me by the collar and started shaking me. Shaking? That's a stretch. I barely touched him once, Amber muttered. Asterisk, asterisk. I calmly asked him to release me. He did. I told him to leave. He refused, so I shoved him out. Once the door was shut, I heard him yelling. He threatened me before walking away. Asterisk, asterisk. That was the final entry. Amber scanned the pages again and let out a heavy sigh. What he had read was disturbing, and he now had no doubt that the last entries described him. They matched exactly how his own visits had gone. Yeah, no doubt now, it's me he's writing about. And since it's been 10 days since I was last here. Looks like no one's visited him since then, he thought. But the revelation brought him no comfort. The truth enraged him, especially the final note, threatened with violence. Really? That's how he spins it? All I said was, I won't let this go. That's not a threat. Okay, sure I drugged him tonight, but come on, it's not like I hurt him. He closed the notebook. The anger ebbed, replaced by bitter disappointment. He had expected to find something useful in the journal, some clue, some method, anything instead. He'd only discovered that Dr. Frank had painted him as a lunatic and even committed one former client to a mental institution. Me get my memories back, Amber thought. And there's no second journal in the room. Just to be sure, he looked around the shelves again. Nothing, only jars. Enough of this. Time to move on to Plan B, Amber decided. He picked up the notebook, the jar with his name, and returned to the office. Dr. Frank was still slumped at the desk, unconscious. Amber had left him that way. No matter. I'll wait till he wakes up. But first, one more thing to do. He placed the jar and the notebook on the desk in front of the doctor. Then he looked at the man in silence. Should tie him up. Who knows how he'll react when he wakes up? Amber wanted to talk calmly if possible. He searched the office for rope but found none. Then he headed off to look for a Watlow. Surely there would be something there. He was right in the bathroom. He found a clothesline. Grabbing a knife from the kitchen, returned to the bathroom and cut the line. Then he put the knife back in the kitchen and returned to the office. He tied Dr. Frank's torso securely to the chair. Then he sat down in the second chair and waited. He had to wait a long time. Amber sighed heavily, again and again. His patience was wearing thin. Finally, Dr. Frank stirred and slowly opened his eyes when he saw Amber. His expression darkened. Amber looked back at him, calm and steady. Dr. Frank, he said, we need to have a serious talk. Immediately, Dr. Frank felt something restraining him. He looked down when he saw the rope tied around his body. His eyes narrowed in confusion. He glanced back at Amber, then returned his gaze to the rope, frowning. He began trying to undo the knot. Amber smirked. He had tied it well tight. He was confident. Dr. Frank wasn't going anywhere, but he didn't say any of this aloud. He wanted Dr. Frank to realize it. On his own, he didn't have to wait long. Soon enough, Dr. Frank understood. He couldn't untie the rope. He looked back at Amber, and now in his eyes, Amber saw fear. What's going on? Dr. Frank exclaimed, nervous and alarmed. I told you, we need to talk, Amber said calmly. At once, the fear in Dr. Frank's eyes flared into rage. Untie me this instant, he demanded. Only after you explain everything, Amber said, unfazed. He gestured at the jar and the notebook. I found these in one of the rooms. I've read all your notes, and I know everything. Dr. Frank looked at the jar and the notebook, then back at Amber, this time without rage, just a trace of sorrow. If you've read it all, then you already have more than enough information, he said tiredly. What more do you want? Want to know why you do this? Why do you take people's memories? Strange question. Do it to make money, Dr. Frank said flatly. The sorrow left his eyes. His gaze turned serious. That's it? Amber asked. That's it. Then why don't you return the memories when people ask for them? Amber pressed. Dr. Frank didn't answer. Tell me. Answer all my questions, and I'll untie you. Then I'll leave. You won't see me again. I don't return memories. Because the contract says I don't have to, Dr. Frank said. Amber slammed his fist on the desk. Stop it. If you mention that damned contract again, I swear I won't be responsible for what happens next. I asked you why. What's the real reason? Dr. Frank said nothing. Answer me. Amber shouted. Still silence? Say something, Amber said. More softly, but the silence continued. I'm not in a rush, Amber said. We can sit here all night. Nothing, damn it, Amber growled. If you don't speak up, I swear. He clenched his fists. Amber hated this man now. Hated him for what he had done. Hated him for saying nothing. Well, say something. He screamed, eyes burning with rage. Nothing. Dr. Frank didn't move a muscle. His face was blank like a mask. Only his gaze showed a chilling calm. Impressive self-control, Amber thought with a heavy sigh. How the hell do I make this? Bastard talk. His anger cooled for a moment. He made another attempt. Dr. Frank, please. I'm not leaving until I get answers. Why won't you return people's memories? Still nothing. He was as calm as ever. Even now, tied to a chair, he looked in control. Because he was in control. He had figured Amber out. He knew Amber wouldn't do anything to him. He knew Amber would yell, make threats, and then leave. Because Amber wasn't the type to see things through. He was the kind who gave up halfway. That's why he came to give up his memories in the first place. Strong people don't give up their memories. Amber was weak. A weakling. And who fears a weakling? Amber looked at Dr. Frank and felt like he could hear those thoughts in the doctor's head. But no. Enough of that, Amber thought. I'm done being weak. Right here, right now, a new Amber is born. And he'll show Dr. Frank exactly what he's capable of. Just like that, a new Amber was born. He picked up the notebook, flipped through it once again. Then he picked up the jar with his name on it. You know what? Amber said slowly, locking eyes with Dr. Frank. I've got nothing left to lose, but you do. You care about your reputation. You care about this notebook. And I can make it public. Everyone will know you're a fraud. That one of your clients is in a mental ward because you put him there. So, are you going to tell me the truth? I don't intend to explain anything, Dr. Frank said flatly. Go ahead. Show the notebook to whoever you like.
Oh.
Never prove those notes are mine. He narrowed his eyes. If you keep pushing me, I'll call what, the asylum? Amber smirked. You catch on quick. Amber stared at him long and hard. Even now, Dr. Frank was calm. Calm. He wasn't afraid of him at all. And Amber hated him for that. Hated him even more, all right, he thought. Let's see how you react to this. You called me a monster. In your notes? Fine. I'll be your monster. He stood up and left the room. But moments later, he returned. This time, held a knife. A big knife. Not the one he'd used to cut the rope. This was another, longer, sharper. The blade gleamed. Freshly honed, Amber stepped up to Dr. Frank and spun the chair toward him. He pressed the tip of the knife to the man's throat. Talk or I'll kill you, he blurted out. The words sounded awkward. Ridiculous, Amber. Kill someone. He'd never even raised his voice at another human being. Not before meeting Dr. Frank. But that meeting had changed everything. Still, it's not that much. And Dr. Frank knew it. He didn't flinch. Didn't blink. He didn't answer either. He wasn't afraid. Not even now. And Amber, he couldn't hold it. He lowered the knife. He placed it on the desk. Then grabbed the back of Dr. Frank's chair. He turned it back toward the table. Pushed it in close. Then he walked around and sat down across. From the man looking him in the eye, Dr. Frank smirked. Amber wanted to look away. But didn't. He forced himself to keep eye contact. Dr. Frank stayed silent. So Amber went silent too. He decided to wait, to sit, and wait until the doctor lost patience. Maybe then he'd talked an hour past like this, to people sitting in silence. Staring, Amber had patience, but so did Dr. Frank. Maybe I should give up, Amber thought. I'm not going to torture him, though maybe there's one last trick. Doctor, he said quietly. This is your last chance. I mean, why? You won't return people's memories, or I'll go into your lab and smash all the jars. Dr. Frank's expression didn't change. Doctor, I'm serious. Amber stood and picked up the jar with his name. No, not that one anything, but that. Amber thought with horror, and quickly set it back down on the desk. I'll smash. All the jars except mine, he said. I'm going now. This is your final chance. Dr. Frank stayed calm, cold, and composed as ever. Fine, I'm going, Ember said. He turned and walked toward the door. He left his jar on the desk far out of Dr. Frank's reach. Not that it mattered. The man was tied tight, his hands behind his back. Even if he tried, he couldn't grab it. Okay, Amber thought. Maybe I can't get my memories back, but I can destroy this bastard's work. He'd had enough. He no longer expected answers. Doctor. Frank had proven himself utterly unreachable, so Amber really was going to smash the jars. At least I can destroy the jars. That I can do. And if he doesn't think I'm capable of even that, well, he's about to find out. Amber reached the door and grabbed the handle, and then he heard it. Dr. Frank's voice quiet. Lo, I don't return your memories because... Amber froze. He spun around, eyes wide, staring at Dr. Frank. The doctor looked right at him, still calm. Amber rushed back and stood before him, eyes locked. He didn't speak. Just waited. Dr. Frank took his time. Impatient, Amber blurted out, Well, why? And finally Dr. Frank said, Because I can't. He said it so calmly like it was nothing at all. What? Amber couldn't believe it. He stormed back to the desk, stood in front of the doctor's chair. Leaning forward, he braced his hands on the table and stared at him. You said you can't. Did I hear that right? You heard me, Dr. Frank? Said evenly, I can't. Amber froze. That response left him stunned. He said I understood correctly, Amber thought, narrowing his eyes. Or maybe he's just trying to mess with me, trying to get in my head. He sighed. Okay, I'll talk to him again. One more try. If he's lying, I'll know, and I can still break the jars afterward. Amber sat down again. You're lying, aren't you? You can give memories back, but you don't want to. Or maybe you just want me to beg a little longer. Sorry, Dr. Frank said, but I truly can't return them. Why? Amber shouted. Why not? 'Cause I don't know how, Dr. Frank said. What do you mean you don't know how? I mean exactly that. So, let me get this straight. What? You know how to take memories, but not how to give them back. Yes, that's correct. I don't believe you, Amber shouted. That's your choice, bastard. Thought. Stop messing with me, Amber snapped. Just say it. Say why you won't return my memories. I already have. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Oh, that's it. Amber shouted. He leapt to his feet, stormed over to Dr. Frank, spun his chair hard. Then he grabbed the man by the tie and yanked him forward. Listen to me, I'm not leaving until you return my memories. Do you understand? Amber shouted. Glaring into Dr. Frank's face, their faces were so close now that Amber could see the glint in the doctor's eyes. Golden sparks flickered in them. Yes, I understand. Dr. Frank replied quietly. Good, Amber said, calming down as he released the doctor's tie. He straightened up and looked at Dr. Frank, then froze. Once again, they locked eyes in. Silence. It didn't last long. Just a few seconds. Have a seat, Dr. Frank said. I'll tell you everything. Amber frowned and walked back to his chair. Sitting down, he stared at the doctor, waiting. Dr. Frank had already turned his chair to face the table, waiting for Amber to sit. In the moment their eyes met again, Dr. Frank began to speak. The idea of studying human memory had haunted me for a long time, he began. You see, I have the ability to read people's thoughts. And one day I started wondering, could I make someone forget a memory entirely? So I decided to try. At first, I experimented on a friend. He agreed to be my subject and to keep everything secret. That was a year ago. I read his thoughts and mentally commanded him to forget everything, but it didn't work. He couldn't forget. Still, I didn't give up. I tried again, 10 times at least. Nothing worked, but I kept going. And finally, 2 months in, I succeeded. One day, I asked him to think about something he wanted to forget. As he did, I read his thoughts, then gave the command to erase them. I immediately asked if he remembered what he'd just been thinking about. He didn't. I was ecstatic. I had learned how to erase memories. We celebrated the success. Then he left, and I sat alone, thinking. I realized I was still full of his memories, but I didn't want to carry around other people's experiences. They weren't mine. I thought about erasing them from my mind, too, but then I had an idea.
What?
If I could store them somewhere else, I'd free up space, but keep the data. And then it struck me, what if I could transfer memories, into a jar? So I tried it, and it worked. I focused and pushed the memories into a jar. I watched the transfer happen. Then I held the jar to my ear, and I heard his thoughts. He had wanted to forget 2 memories. Both were now in the jar. I was thrilled, completely intoxicated with the success. I knew then and there that all my efforts had been worth it. Same day, I started a journal. I recorded everything. From there, I began to practice. Every day for the next 13 days, I worked with a new person. Each one thought about what they wanted to forget and then forgot it, and every time, I'd read their minds and transferred their memories into a jar. At night, I would sit alone in my study, hold the jar to my ear, and listen to the memories they'd given me. Afterward, I'd seal the lid just in case the memories might escape. Of course, I knew that wasn't possible, but it made me feel better. I don't quite understand, Amber interrupted. How do you even get memories into a jar? And how can you just erase someone's thoughts like that? I mean, I get that you give them a mental command, but is that really all it takes? For me, yes, Dr. Frank said. That's my gift. The moment I mentally command someone to forget something, they forget. And how do you transfer the memories into the jar? Simple. I just give them the command to enter it and stay there. What? Ember blinked. That's it? You just tell them to go into the jar? Yes, Dr. Frank nodded. But silently, of course. I issue a mental command. When a person arrives, I ask them to close their eyes and replay the memory in their mind. I read their thoughts carefully. Then I ask them also mentally if they're sure they want to part with that memory. Once they decide, I issue the command for the memory to leave their mind. I do this for every memory they want to forget. Then I give a mental command to the memories now in my head to move into the jar. Once I give the command, the process begins. Within 2 seconds, the jar starts to glow with a soft blue light. The memory is shaped like a small, floating blue orb, and the next one follows, and the next. Once I count them, I seal the jar and shake it. Then the orbs become invisible. Only after that do I ask the person to open their eyes. When they do, I ask if they still recall the bad memories. They always say no. That's how I know the transfer was successful. I tell them their memories are now safely stored in the jar. They won't ever remember them again. They thank me and leave. But it all sounds implausible, Amber said. Why do you make the memories invisible? That wasn't intentional, Dr. Frank replied. I discovered it during early trials. The glowing orbs' memories disappear on their own. After 5 minutes, then I tried shaking the jar and noticed that made them vanish immediately. I tested it several times and confirmed it. Now I do it every time, to avoid awkward questions from clients. I see. So you give them commands, Amber said. Why can't you command the memories to leave the jar and return to the client's mind? I don't know, Dr. Frank admitted. They stay in the jar, no matter how many times I ask them to return. So you've tried? Amber asked. Of course I've tried. I started with my friend. After transferring his memories into the jar, I tried to move them back into my own head. It didn't work. Then I placed my own memories into a jar and tried to retrieve them. That failed too. Then I tried sending his memories directly back into his mind, skipping mine entirely. Still nothing. No matter how many times I tried, I couldn't get a single memory to return. Not into my head, not into his. That's strange. Yes, strange and still unsolved. But I'm continuing my research. Each client gets a separate jar, of course. Not that it's helped me much. I only experiment on myself and my friend. I don't want outsiders knowing what I'm doing yet. He's the only one I ever told, I see. ... And if I open my jar now, will I hear my memories? Amber asked. Of course. You said you listen to clients' memories at night. Do you listen to all of them? Amber asked. Yes, quite often, actually. I enjoy listening. It's like watching a film only without the visuals, and far more interesting. I even have favorite jars I revisit. Dream of building a large collection. Right now it's still small, but one day, ... Dr. Frank closed his eyes dreamily. Amber looked at him in horror. What is he talking about? Is he insane? How can he so shamelessly intrude on people's lives? He thought, then said aloud, You're a disgusting person. Dr. Frank opened his eyes and calmly looked at Amber, who went on, You charge people for taking their memories in, then you listen to those thoughts later? Without their permission. That's an invasion of privacy. After that outburst, Amber stood still, scowling at him. Dr. Frank, composed as ever, replied, First of all, I don't take memories. People give them to me willingly. And second, I have them sign a waiver. They agree to the terms and promise not to make any claims against my methods. Yes, but you never explain those methods, Amber snapped. No one asked me anything. Dr. Frank snapped angrily. Did you ask me anything that day you came begging to get rid of your memories? No, you only started running around after you decided you wanted them back. Why the sudden change of heart? You were so eager to forget, to erase those intrusive, painful memories you wanted this. So what now? Now I've changed my mind. Amber shouted back. Now I miss those awful, obsessive memories. Well, you've heard them again now, said Dr. Frank. What more do you want? I want my memories in my head, not in a jar, Amber cried. I'm sorry. There's nothing I can do, Dr. Frank said, offering a faint smile. You bastard. Amber exploded again. He's even smiling. That's it. He's asking for it. Amber thought as he leapt from his chair and charged at Dr. Frank. He reached him in a flash, clenched his fist, and punched him square in the face. The blow knocked Dr. Frank off his chair and sent him sprawling to the floor. The doctor let out a soft groan as he hit the ground. Damn it, ... Amber thought, suddenly remorseful, and rushed to help him up. Lifting both the chair and the man, he hadn't meant to hurt Dr. Frank, but that smug smile had pushed him over the edge. Sorry. I lost control, Amber said, glancing at the doctor. Dr. Frank gave him a cold stare, but said nothing. Let's forget what just happened. You can walk away peacefully, Amber added. Walk away peacefully, Dr. Frank barked. Yes, I'll take my jar and leave. Right now. You think you can just walk away after all this? Are you joking? Dr. Frank asked in disbelief. You're not exactly innocent either, Amber shot back, annoyed. If I show people your notebook again, with the notebook? Dr. Frank smirked. Prove it's mine first. It has your fingerprints. And yours too, Frank said with a smug grin. Amber glanced thoughtfully at the notebook. Listen. Young man, don't think you can threaten me, Doctor, Frank said sternly. If I want to end, I do want to, Can have you sent straight to jail? Or a mental hospital, your choice. I'm being generous here, letting you decide. Oh, how terrifying, Amber sneered. Go ahead, do it. Untie me, Doctor. Frank demanded. Free yourself. Aren't you all powerful? Amber replied sarcastically. You're making things worse for yourself, said Dr. Frank. Oh, to hell with this, Amber muttered, completely fed up. He couldn't stand to look at the doctor anymore. Couldn't stand the jar. Or the room. All he wanted was to go home. So in the next instant, he grabbed a knife from the table and sliced through the ropes binding Dr. Frank. The ropes dropped to the floor. Amber placed the knife on the table and was just about to grab the jar and leave when Dr. Frank spoke again. That'll be $2,000. Amber froze in place, then turned slowly and stared at him in disbelief. What? If you don't want me to call the police this instant, pay me $2,000, Dr. Frank said calmly. Screw you. Amber snapped, snatching up his jar and marching toward the door. But just as he reached it, Dr. Frank sprang to his feet, darted past him, and slammed the door shut. Amber rushed forward and shoved the door dash locked. Double quotes. Perfect. ... He muttered, grimacing in frustration. He set the jar on the floor, pounded on the door, and shouted, Hey! Open this door now! Do what I asked, and I'll let you out, said Dr. Frank from the other side. Fine. What do you want? Amber sighed. I've already said $2,000. I don't have that kind of cash on me, Amber said, flustered. You have a phone, don't you? Said Dr. Frank. Do a transfer.
All right.
Amber exhaled. To hell. With the money. I just want this nightmare to be over. He pulled out his phone, opened the banking app, and looked up. Give me your phone number or account number. Dr. Frank recited his number. Amber entered the digits, typed in the amount, and tapped send. A new screen appeared, displaying a card number and the name E.R. Frank. Then his phone pinned confirmation code received. But before entering it, Amber looked at the door and asked, How can I be sure you'll open the door once I send the money? My dear boy, why on earth would I keep you here? Trust me, once the money hits my account, I'll unlock the door immediately. Amber had no choice but to believe him, but he decided to get one more promise out of him. Fine, I'll send the money, but you have to promise not to try to take my jar. I'm leaving with it. Promise. I won't stop you from leaving with it, Dr. Frank replied. Amber sighed, entered the confirmation code, and sent the payment. A moment later, a chime sounded from the other side of the door. Pleasure doing business with you, Dr. Frank. Said, can't say the same about you. Amber muttered and slipped the phone into his pocket. He picked up the jar and looked at the door. Well, open it. No worries. I'll escort you out myself, said Dr. Frank. A moment later, the key turned in the lock, and the door swung open. Seeing Dr. Frank standing there, Amber couldn't help himself. You're such a bastard. He blurted, let's keep it civil, Frank said, grinning, or I might have to call for the men in white coats. Amber stopped, freezing in place, glaring at the doctor with hatred. No need for that look. Frank smirked again. Come along now, before I change my mind. He turned left and started walking down the corridor. Amber seethed with rage inside, but he held it in. All he wanted now was to get away. He didn't trust Dr. Frank not to change his mind again, so he followed without hesitation. He gripped the jar tightly, afraid of dropping it, and hurried to keep up. Soon they reached the front door. Dr. Frank opened it in silence. All the way there, neither of them spoke. As the door creaked open, Amber suddenly remembered something. There wasn't a key to the office door in your desk. Just the one for the memory room. I keep it on me, said Dr. Frank. It holds the key to the memory room. Got it, said Amber. Dr. Frank gave him a pointed look toward the exit. Well then, goodbye. I hope we never meet again. Amber said and walked out. Goodbye. Dr. Frank replied behind him. The moment Amber stepped out, he heard the door slam shut behind him. Without looking back, Amber hurried along the road. Dawn was breaking. He walked fast, desperate to put as much distance between himself and Dr. Frank's house as possible. But as soon as he rounded the first bend, felt a wave of peace wash over him. Of course, he'd gotten his memories back, and as that thought took hold, Amber was flooded with joy. Still, he didn't slow down. Not yet. Only once the house was far behind did he allow himself to relax the pace. But he still held the jar tightly, not daring to let it go, not until he was safe at home and could find it a proper place. That jar had become the most precious thing in the world to him, and he feared for its safety with every step. Yet even that fear couldn't overshadow the profound happiness he felt. He had gotten his memories back, not in the way he wanted, no. They were still in the jar, not in his mind, but that didn't bother him anymore. Amber was grateful. Deeply, genuinely grateful, because what mattered most was that the memories were his again. In what form they returned, that no longer mattered. He couldn't remember them, but not on his own, but he knew what they were, and that was enough. Even though those memories were unpleasant, painful, Amber now understood, wasn't ready to throw away even the saddest moments of his life. Every memory mattered, and now he knew. He would cherish every moment from now on. For now, he was simply carrying his memories home and feeling endlessly happy.